Wow, look at this game. It's so cute. I love this retro classic 90s inspired anime style. It's so magical. Everything is so adorable and what the heck is that thing? What is going on? I thought this game was cute. What is this game even about? Little Goody Two Shoes is a game that, as soon as I saw it, it immediately caught my eye. Obviously, how could it not? Yes, I'd be surprised if you haven't seen these characters before. The game's charming opening cutscene was posted to YouTube, and I fell in love with the style of it. But honestly, I also was like, what the heck actually happens in this game? From what I could tell, this is a game about an adorable little lesbian choosing who to date, and that's it, maybe? The trailer doesn't really tell me much about the gameplay, but clearly something is going on here. That doesn't look like a thing you'd see on a normal cute lesbian date, and the opening cinematic implies a much deeper story. So what's actually going on? What's all the buzz behind that precious art style? Well, let's dive into Little Goody Two Shoes and find out. The game starts the same way all great stories do. Grandma dies. Bummeroni, kid. This is Elise. She is haughty and full of herself, wants riches and to be adored, but currently is stuck doing odd jobs in the local town and surviving off of a heavy bread-based diet. She comes home one night and discovers someone has broken into her house. How dare. Surprise! The culprit was actually a cute, romanceable character, Rosinmarine. She's a traveler and was looking for a place to stay. The townsfolk have been quibbling over rumors of a witch recently, and Rosinmarine seems to really fit the bill, but Elise thinks it's all baloney. Besides, now she can force Rosinmarine into servitude for her, becoming her own personal maid, just like a real rich person would have. She also has a pet goat named Flock, who, for some reason, gets a little character introduction like the romanceable girls get. Will I get to romance Flock? I don't think I want to do that. I know how this will go down. He's going to ask me if I'd like to know the taste of butter. This is a reference to a movie called The Witch. I've realized a lot of you probably wouldn't get it, because I don't think a lot of people have seen it. You should though, it's really good. Watch with subtitles. The next day is Sunday, and Elise heads into town for mass. Then we get to meet our other two romanceable characters, Freya, who seems to be a gardener or something, and Lebkuchen, the nun in training. Now we've gotten introduced to everyone, let's go over the actual gameplay. First things first, this is a dating game. Every day you can schedule a date event with the girls of your choice. Watching the opening cutscene, I thought I'd really be into Freya. She's so pretty, but after diving into the game proper, there's a really big focus on religion, and I'm just burningly curious to know what role a nun would play in this sort of setting. So I decided to pursue Leb as a sweetheart.
I want to f*** a priest. Do you really want to f*** the priest, or do you want to f*** God? Can you f*** God?
You can even attempt to pursue multiple girls at the same time, but by the end you will only get to choose one for your ending. I wouldn't really recommend pursuing more than one girl anyways, because this game runs on a time-passing system. Elise only has so much time of the day to get things done, and certain events will make time pass, and that always includes having a date. On the first day, Rosinmarine schedules a date with Elise at sunset, while Leb and Freya schedule dates at the same time during the afternoon. Like I said, I'm pursuing Lebkuchen, so let's go and chat. Elise and Lebkuchen are actually childhood friends. They've been close their entire lives. They're so close, in fact, that Elise knows that Leb isn't exactly very happy with her life in the church. The townsfolk ask so much of her, and old Father Hans is so strict. Well, at least the ladies have each other, right? While you can attempt to date one of the town girls and then later go and hang out with Rosinmarine, I really wouldn't recommend it, because the other thing you can do when you're not wooing ladies is working, and you will need to work. Elise is dirt poor, and saving up money for items is going to be incredibly crucial for multiple elements of the game. Working in this game actually translates to cute little mini games. The better you do in them, the more money you'll get. There's egg collecting, which is pretty straightforward, apple catching, which was my personal favorite because I'm good at it, chopping wood, making sure you kick away the things that aren't wood, and this baseball knockoff thing called Kiss the Mouse. I really sucked at this one, so I I didn't play it a lot. I couldn't remember what direction was what color, and I struggled to get the timing right. There's 6 times of the day, but Elise can only work during 3 of them: morning, afternoon, and sunset. There's also dawn, which mostly just consists of story cutscene stuff. Then there's nighttime, which is important to know that the shops will still be open during nighttime. And then there's... well that doesn't seem normal. This is the witching hour. See, Elise is the true embodiment of that meme, born to slay, forced to work. She dreams of being rich. She wants to be doted on by the others around her. She wants to be fabulous and wants to be treated like a princess. There are several scenic locations you can visit during your game, and in the background, you can always see this beautiful, towering castle. Hell, it's the very first thing you see in the opening cutscene once it starts playing. A giant symbol of everything Elise wants, always there, looming in the distance, just out of her reach. There's some strange things going on in the town, though. Not only the rampant rumors of a witch in the area, but Elise has been having odd dreams, and discovers a beautiful pair of ruby red shoes buried in her garden. Seems like there's something out there that wants to help make all of her dreams come true. All she needs to do is bring him 3 important gifts. This is where the witching hour comes in. At the end of the day, Elise will venture into the woods to complete a haunting task in an otherworldly place, to get the gifts needed to make her dreams come true thanks to him. She has 1 week to pass her tests by the time the festival goes off, a big event to celebrate St. Valperga. These witching hour sections are more like a classic RPG horror game, like Eve or Franbo, and they are a lot harder than you might think. This game offers quite a lot of challenges, and it's smartly done too. Some are better than others, but I found the balance of skills during the witching hour segments really fun. It's a struggle, but it's also super satisfying. You will die a lot though, so make sure you save often. Basically, every time you run across a save spot, do it. Even if you don't think you need to, just do it anyways. You never know. Not just for the witching hour either, but even when you're in town. I suggest having a save file at the very start of a day, a save file for the middle of the day as you move throughout it, and then a save for when you're starting the witching hour. So then, if you're in the middle of the witching hour and realize you should have saved your money or bought more items to help you in the witching hour, you have your save files you can fall back on. They give you all of these save slots. Use them. I think the way this game marries this style of gameplay with the dating game elements is super cool. It's so interesting and makes the prospect of the relationships a lot more complex. Because what 3 things I need to collect by the end of the week is a representation of my body and blood, which Elise will accomplish just by navigating the puzzles in the witching hour. But the last thing I need is a representation of my heart, the person I love. So, what's more important? My relationship with Leb Kuhin, or my dreams coming true? What will really make Elise happy? Now's a good time to break down what all these menus mean. You might have noticed all these bars and meters floating around Elise's head over here. Let's break it down. First, we have Elise's basket. This is basically just a visualization of your story progression, so don't worry too much about it. Next, we have Elise's health bars. Hearts are self-explanatory. If you get hurt, your hearts go down. When they all go out, it's game over, but that's not the only thing. This bread meter is Elise's stamina. This is the most important meter in the whole damn game. These floating breads will become the bane of your existence. The bread meter will naturally go down as the day progresses, and no, going to bed at the end of the day will not replenish any of your meters. I assumed it would, and had Elise end up half starved to death on her first day. You will be spending a large majority of your money on food to keep Elise alive, but also keep your eyes peeled for shiny things on the ground. Elise isn't above eating the odd acorn or mushroom she finds on the floor. I don't know, Elise, maybe you'd have better stamina if you didn't only eat bread all the time.
Garlic bread is my favorite food. I could honestly eat it for every meal.
You get fat.
No, why would I get fat?
Bread makes you fat.
Bread makes you fat?
This blue meter is Elise's sanity. Certain areas or events will frighten Elise, and if her meter runs all the way out, it's game over. You can buy things that can help replenish that meter, but they tend to be expensive. However, these expensive items are the only way you can replenish your sanity meter. And I'll be honest, when Elise's sanity is low, it's the most annoying thing. There will be a visual aid on screen to really remind you if one of your bars is low, so you don't accidentally kill Elise because you didn't notice. But man, the horrible whispering for the sanity meter was hands down the most annoying one. Elise can poke her head around and find some suspicious notes laying around. Writings that talk about rituals, witches, gods, and maybe Elise's grandmother had something to do with it? If that doesn't make you go insane, I don't know what will. But I'm here for it. I love this kind of stuff, and I want to know the deep, dark lore of this town. What's the worst that can happen? Last in our menus is a charm that shows your relationship progress with the girls, and also this, your suspicion meter. There's nothing old men love more than accusing confident young women of being witches. There'll be regular events where the townsfolk will talk to or confront Elise, and depending on your answers, their suspicions of you can go up or down. Some of these events are unavoidable, but you can also initiate this by chatting with the folks at random. So if your suspicion meter is getting too high, you can try to lower it by taking the initiative and talking to the townsfolk. But if your meter is already low, you might want to avoid unnecessarily chatting with others in case you say the wrong thing. I found the option texts were a little vague on what exactly Elise would say sometimes. I don't mind it, that's part of the challenge of the game and I think it's fun, but I'd understand if others found the vagueness of these prompts frustrating. There's one scene that takes place on Friday that especially left me feeling in the dark on what exactly Elise's prompts were going to say.
Why?
Hello. Fucker.
I'm gonna kill your whole family for fun.
What?
There's also another easy way to lower your suspicion. Muffy. This is Muffy. She's blackmailing you. Fun! She'll have a request of a food item every day, and if you give it to her, your suspicion meter will go down. Don't forget to find Muffy every day to help lower your suspicion. Fortunately, when you're in the same time of day Muffy is hiding in, this Muffy speech bubble will appear over Elise's head. And Muffy makes a little jingle sound when she's hiding too, so that helps you to find her. Between feeding Muffy, keeping Elise's meters up, and finding time to work between dates, you really feel the pressure of how tight money is for Elise. That's her whole end goal, right? Money, wealth, and more importantly, security. Yes, Elise comes across as vain, parading around wishing she could lord over everyone, but while playing the game, constantly penny pinching, always juggling about what to spend your money on, you really start to understand why Elise is willing to go through it all. Who doesn't want financial security? Father Hans talks about sin when Elise is wishing for finer things, but can you really blame her? Is it a sin to not want to go hungry? Is it greed for you to wish you didn't have to struggle to get by? No matter how much you work, even if you skip a date with your girl once or twice, it feels like it's impossible to ever get ahead. In the beginning, I thought it would be impossible to give up on my relationship with Lebkuchen. She tries so hard, too hard. These horrible townsfolk are so superstitious and demand constant prayer and praise from her, to the point where she collapsed. But is it worth it? This fleeting romance. Maybe it would be worth it if Elise sacrificed it all for wealth. After all, how happy could Lebkuchen be, partnered with a poor girl who can't help support her financially anyways? It was crazy, actually. While I was playing, I was stressing over money, trying to see if I could starve myself in order to buy Muffy's bribe. I let Elise be on half a heart for way too long because I knew buying food was more pressing, and as the days went by, as I reached the last few days of the week, I could feel myself feeling that pressure start to fade away. I just need enough money to get me fed for another day. After tomorrow, I won't need to worry about money anymore. Once the festival is here, who cares if I'm poor? And I think it's really cynical. The day of the festival, the kids give you these tickets to play games, and they're just the same chores you always do. But you can play them without passing the time, and because of this, it's so easy to become super rich on the one day you don't need to worry about money anymore. So, it's the day of the festival. I have maxed out my hearts with Lebkuchen. She comes to terms with the fact she doesn't want to stay in the church. She wants to discover who she really is and is willing to run away with Elise to get out of this suffocating little town. But Elise also has other plans. I lead Lebkuchen into the woods. The witching hour is upon us. Leb, seemingly in a trance, follows along as Elise gives her gifts to him. And finally, her dreams are right here, within reach. Now it's time to make a choice. Money or love? What will really make you happy? Will it really be worth it? Well, I choose to turn away from the promised riches. Lebkuchen is too sweet, and she was just getting ready to really start living her own life. Elise and Lebkuchen run away together. Yes, they struggle, but they also get to travel the world, and together, that struggling doesn't feel quite as bad. Finally, the two girls get homesick and come back to town. Now, older and wiser, Lebkuchen becomes the new elder and renovates the church into a school. Elise, meanwhile, becomes the mayor and builds the town bigger and better than ever before. They truly do have all the riches they'd ever want. They don't struggle anymore. They don't need to go to bed hungry. It took a lot more time, but it was all worth the wait because, most importantly, they're together.
Without question, I love.
Okay, but I know that's not what you're here for. Elise has been starving herself all damn week to get here. She's gone through horrible ordeals, saw tormented creatures, ran, hid, hurt, so much hurt. It's been a never-ending, demanding nightmare from her. All that effort's not going to waste. She makes her way through hell and comes face to face with him. If you want a good look at him, though, you're gonna have to play the game yourself. Elise watches as Lebkuchen is sacrificed. The next morning, they say shining, ornate carriage waiting for her. She's off to the castle. She did it. She's rich. She's wealthier than she could have ever dreamed. But was it worth it? In the end, Elise can't escape her regret. She moves back to town and becomes a nun herself, desperate to make up for her sins, hoping that before her soul is condemned to hell, she might get to at least see Lebkuchen one last time. I've just given you a taste of what 2 of the endings look like for this game. There's 10 endings total, and I've left out a lot of the story beats that led up to Lebkuchen's finales. Obviously, Rosmarine's and Freya's storylines are going to be totally different, but also there's still big secrets I haven't revealed. There's so many mysterious things happening in town. Is it just nature, or is there really a witch? What about all those notes? Where did they lead? Why do they mention Elise's grandmother? Can Elise date Flock? Well, you'll have to play the game for yourself to find out. Discovering the twists and turns of the story is the fun part of the game, and I don't want to spoil too much of it in this review. I, hands down, think this game is definitely worth it. If you're even a little bit intrigued by the mysteries of this game, please do yourself a favor. Don't spoil any of it and just play the game yourself. Before we wrap up though, I do have a couple of little extra sections. These will dive into minor spoilers, so if you're sold, beware, there's spoilers ahead. Here are some handy tips for when you're going through your playthrough. There are several golden girls you can find. They'll discuss important history for the lore of the story. Talking to them will lower Elise's sanity a bit though, but sometimes they will also give you a really handy item, like expensive things to be sold in the shops, or high-end healing items. Keep your sanity meter up, because I think it's really worth finding these girls. You can also keep up with how many of them you found by checking the jar of fireflies by Elise's bed. There's an achievement for getting all of them too. Speaking of sanity, when Elise is in the dark tunnels in town, her sanity meter will drop in real time. I think it also drops while she's reading the notes on the ground. Like, it doesn't pause just because the text boxes are on screen. It's a tad immersion breaking, but I suggest smashing through the text box as fast as possible and running out of the cave as fast as you can. You can just reread the notes afterwards from your inventory anyways. This one sounds pretty simple, but still. The button to turn on your light, if you press it again, and we'll turn off your light. Pretty self-explanatory, but still, I didn't realize it. There's a puzzle early on that requires you to turn off your lamp at a certain time, and I was just throwing Elise into monsters because getting hurt will also turn your lamp off, because I didn't realize I could just do it myself. On that note, if it feels like you're doing a puzzle wrong, you probably are. You're not supposed to get hurt. If you're taking damage, try a new approach. A lot of puzzles will actually require you to really slow down. You don't need to run all the time. And now, let's tackle some... Obviously, I think the game is great. I loved it. I highly recommend it, but I still think it's important to point out where I think the game could be improved. I want to see the developers go on to make more and more cool things, so that means I need to point out the parts where I think they could improve things moving forward. Some of these things are really minor, basically nitpicks. Like, for example, I think Muffy's eyebrows are placed a tad too low on her face. The way they cover her eyelids don't quite look right to me. See, it's not a big deal, but maybe something to keep in mind. On another art-related note, I found the men's character sprites looked odd. They just look like they're from a different game, right? Obviously, they don't have the big, beautiful anime eyes like the ladies do. I think the thing that's really throwing me off are their noses. They're really well defined, and none of the girls' noses have any kind of definition. It's nice looking art, it just doesn't really match the style of the rest of the game, you know? One last one about the art direction. I wish there was a bit more diversity with the character designs. Everyone's skin tones are really similar, especially the 3 romance options. Also, our lovely ladies all kind of have the same body type too. In the opening artwork, Freya seemed like she was a lot taller, but the in-game sprite for her makes her look shorter than Elise. And she seems like the same height and build as Leb and Rosmarine. I don't know, playing around with diversity could be fun. Like, Muffy is real twiggy, and I think that's cool. She stands out and doesn't look like the other girls. Maybe it's also because the romanceable girls are all really bundled up in a lot of layers of clothes, so even if they did have more diverse body types, it's harder to tell under all their layers and layers of stuff. When Elise dies, I'm not going to show it on screen, but there's this horrible flashing red light. It really hurts my eyes, and I imagine someone with sensitivity to flashing lights would have a lot of problems playing this game. Similarly, there was a lightning flash on Friday night that also kind of hurt my eyes. I don't think they need to necessarily get rid of these things, but I think an option to turn those flashing lights off in like a menu somewhere would be really appreciated. Now, onto some more substantial critiques. The sense of depth in this game isn't always very clear. Usually it's fine. See, I struggle with this ledge that's right next to the path that leads into the woods. Here it's fine, but there is one section in this game, and I say it's the hardest section. Tuesday. Holy crap. First off, the puzzle with the shaking trees wasn't clear at all. I could see that some of the trees weren't shaking with the others, and I tried to follow those trees, but I still kept getting hit. I'm not sure if the area of effect on the trees was just finicky, or if it was a problem of not seeing the depth of the perspective properly, but basically I was just wandering around with half a heart for the entirety of the witching hour on Tuesday. It was at its worst with the final boss of the night. The chariot chases you, and these falling spiked bricks land in your path, and I struggled. Actually, for 30 minutes. I needed to thread between these 2 blocks, but because the depth perception is all weird, I just kept running into them. On top of that, the screen shakes way too hard, which would throw off my sense of depth even more, and I just kept on dying over and over and over until finally I made it all the way through. Woof, that was a nightmare, but it's done. Now I can move on and end this night. Why? On a kind of related note, remember those trees before? Yeah, a lot of the game's difficulty comes from a sort of lack of clear direction. Lots of times I struggled because I just could not figure out what I was supposed to be doing. It was especially bothersome with the moon phase puzzles. The dialogue in the scene is more poetry than anything descriptive, and Elise's musings to herself didn't really help me figure out what I was supposed to be doing. Making clear directions for some of these puzzles would have been very appreciated. complicated. There's already plenty of challenge just making sure I execute the puzzle correctly without taking too much damage. I don't think making the instructions vague is a necessary struggle to add onto that. This next one isn't really a critique, it seems to be a bug. On Wednesday, the day when all the crows are hanging around, I tried to interact with the well. I had obtained a key and I knew it was supposed to go into the well, but I just wasn't sure what day it would work. So I went to go check on it, and I kinda just got stuck? Like a text box popped up, but no words ever happened. Nothing happened. I couldn't escape or anything either. I was stuck. I had to close out of the game and load up a save file. Remember, save all the time, even when you think you're safe. I checked the well both in the morning and then later in the afternoon, and it was the same both times. So yeah, not sure if it was just my game or if it's a bug or whatever, but there you go. I was playing on Steam. I don't know if that's important to know, but that happened. Last thing, I kind of wish Lebkuchen's faith played a bigger role in her story. I picked her to be my partner because I was intrigued how her religion would play into the themes of Elise being suspected of witchcraft, but it never really got brought up. Lebkuchen would vouch for Elise during certain scenes, but I really thought her faith would play a bigger role in her part of the story. And yes, I know her arc was all about her admitting she doesn't actually have any faith anymore, but still, and not just with Lebkuchen. It could have been brought up more with Father Hans or any of the villagers during the suspicion scenes. There's just so much to the real world lore around girls being accused of witchcraft. Lots of weird little things would lead to someone being accused, and I guess I wish this game's story dove into the concepts a little bit deeper than it does. I'm not saying it's poorly done or anything, I just wanted more. Oh yeah, one last super huge problem. There's not nearly enough Lebkuchen merch. More Lebkuchen in general would be a huge improvement in my life, I say. Like I said, I adore this game. I could not put it down once I started playing. It also just begs to be replayed. There's so many options and directions you could play with. Try and play around with different ways of saving money, try to get all the achievements, find all the golden girls, give Muffy food every day of the week. I'm bummed in my playthrough I didn't get to grow closer with Rosenmarine or Freya, and I'm just itching to play it again to learn more about them. The game is infectiously charming, the animation is gorgeous, and all the songs are so catchy. I'm gonna be on pins and needles waiting to see whatever's next in store from the folks at Astral Shift. They've really knocked it out of the park here. This game is so creative and cool, and I loved it. I cannot recommend it enough. If you've enjoyed this review, consider picking it up for yourself. It's amazing.
When they see how I glitter, the ladies at court will be all at Twitter.
Meanwhile,
Destroy Esmeralda and let her taste the fires of hell.
Shout out to my $10 patrons, you're all amazing. Andrew, Valhalla Knight, Chamomile, Classic Critic, Genital War Thunder, Jake, Amber, Hype Man, Scaring Crows, Not All That Evil, Holly, Messiah, Jacob, Ben's Sketchbook, Rain, Omega Fighter, Trash, Wild Pilot, Josh, Twisty, Juan, Bunkin Duncan, Hoodie Angel, Ranger, Hut Mutt Butt, Cloudy Days, The Enigma, Primaroon, Overhypen, Curse Knight, Plague, Unspoken, Tyrene, Thanos, Pandemonium, and Peter. Yeah, what do you think? Have you played the game before? I tried to be spoiler-free in my review. If you are in the comment section and you want to be spoiler-free, just be careful, you know. But yeah, any and all thoughts and opinions about this review, and especially about this game. What girl did you pick? Who'd you go for? What do you think of Flock? What do you all think about everything in this video, and most importantly, in Little Goody Two Shoes? What kind of game do you want to see them tackle next time? I'm excited to see. Any and all thoughts and opinions, leave them in the comments below. I would love to see them, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.